International Media TV. Television that listens to you.
Hi, I'm Johnny Burrell. Welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. My name is Ray Taliaferro, and I grew up here in San Francisco, first living in the projects in Hunters Point, and during the war, when my folks came from Harlem, and everybody would look at my name, and they would say, Taliaferro, Taliaferro. And as I grew up, even in San Francisco, it has a large Italian community, and they would say, oh, there's Taliaferro, Taliaferro. And it took me great honor to each one who would say that. You know where I get Taliaferro from? I said, you ever heard of Booker T. Washington? Well, yes. What's the T in his name? Taliaferro. And they said, you're a great-great-grandson? And I would just smile. So, Taliaferro, that's the way it is. And it's a pleasure to be here. It truly is. And I thank all of you for attending. I thank the organization for asking me to be here. Poetry is something that I have longed for years ago. And when I was coming down life's road, one of the things I used to do is help people become mayor. And one person I helped to become mayor was Joseph Alioto. In fact, I helped him a lot, and I gave all the speeches and so forth, and he won. And then after he won, he said, my God, you want to be the first black police commissioner? I said, no. You want to be the first black fire commissioner? I said, no. I know what you want to do. I attended the concert when you conducted the San Francisco Symphony Orchestra with a full 100-voice choir at the Third Baptist Church for the first appearance of the San Francisco Symphony in the black community ever in San Francisco history, and we did Handel's Messiah. And I said, yeah, that's me, and that's what I love doing. I love talking, so I got into talk radio, and that has paid the bills. And after all this time enjoying that music, I could not enjoy the music unless we had great poets who wrote the lyrics. And so I've got to tell you, there's a wonderful connection to be had if you just stop and think about who you are, and we're all somebody. There ain't no question about it. And where you are, well, as it turns out, we're where we are, and we make the most of where we are. And this is what I love about being invited by some of the most beautiful people, women and men, to be the MC for today, because we're about to hear from some of the most creative people ever in the history of literature. And so what I will do now is stick with the script that was given. And well, when you're a talk show host, you talk for 4 hours a day. And I did that for 34 years. So let me just say what it is they have given before me. Welcome. I'm Ray Taliaferro, the Master of Ceremonies. And I'll be your MC this afternoon. We've got some dynamic people who will be with us today to present some of the very special material and performances. All are here to help us honor our own. Oh, really? Oh, God, she's meant so much to me over the years. I can't believe this. This is all in honor of the one, the only, the beautiful, the articulate, the highly intelligent Jerri Lange. One of my fellow journalists and one of the Bay Area's first African-American journalists and television talk show hosts. Jerri has designed this event to complement her current exhibit being held right here at the San Francisco Public Library in the African American Center. We even have that in name. Wow. Today, ladies and gentlemen, as we celebrate and honor Black History Month, we will also bridge the cultures of the African American and Japanese people and the people of the world. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank Jerri for contributing so much to our world, and also say a special thanks to Ted Karihara for his gift of complimentary photos for the first 50 guests. First of all, because I'm going to be talking about Jerri a lot, can I hear a great big round of applause for Jerri Lange? She gets a standing ovation no matter what. And let's see. It is my privilege now to introduce a great poet, Torita Mikkel is a professional storyteller, poet, performer, and writer, a BAWP 96 fellow. Her work with California poets in the schools garnered her production of over 60 anthologies, widely published and read among the top poets in the country. Her works are broadly used in the PD curriculums of poetry. So, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great amount of privilege and pleasure and an absolute wonderful moment in my life to introduce to you the one, the only, the outstanding, the beautiful, the highly articulate, and her name is Torita Mikkel.
Well, thank you so much.
Oh,
wow. Wow, thank you. Well, this is indeed an honor because there have been many nights that you've just opened up so much insight into the community, into our lives, and we really want to thank you. Please give him a hand. I mean, wow, thank you, thank you. This is indeed an honor to work with Jerri and express to you what an haiku is. First, I would like to say that a haiku is a 17-syllable poem. There's 5 syllables in the first line, 7 syllables in the second line, and 5 syllables in the third line. The haiku poets will be reading that style of poetry. So without further ado, I will read to you, or introduce rather, the poets that will be with you today to read their haikus in honor of Jerri Lange's exhibit. First we have Tarika Lewis. Tarika Lewis is a world-renowned violinist, writer, and she is an outstanding artist. Oh. She has performed with John Handy. She's been to Japan 4 times. So it is indeed an honor to have her here with us. I thought I saw Mary Rudge. Is Mary Rudge here? Oh, there, oh my gosh. Okay. Mary Rudge is Poet Laureate of Alameda. She, let's see, is an international Poet Laureate as well. Born in Los Angeles, California, she grew up in Texas and Oklahoma, returned to California where she was published in the Northern California Haiku Society Anthology and other haiku publications. She has received many awards, been widely published, and some of her poems have been translated into several languages. She traveled to Japan, Sri Lanka, Morocco, Italy, China, Ireland, and other countries by invitation, speaking on 5 continents on poetry and peace education. Her books include Passport, Always, Everywhere Poems, Hungary, Austria, and Other Passions. Welcome, Mary Rudge. Next we have Michelle Bendo, MS, artist, poet. Michelle has her master's degree in rehabilitation counseling, emphasis on drug, alcohol. She works with adolescent and young adults in San Francisco and San Mateo counties. She began writing at a young age. One of her first books is From My Mouth to Your Ear, and it focuses on her view of love, living, and finding one's passion. Please welcome Michelle Fleming Bendo. And next we have Maurisa Thompson. She was born and raised in San Francisco, where she writes poetry and works as a literary specialist. She studied poetry at Swarthmore College and in June Jordan's Poetry for the People. Welcome, Maurisa Thompson. And next we have Kelly Peterson. She will read Joyce Gaskin's poem entitled Tsunami. And I believe that's all the poets. I know we had a few of you coming in a little late, but okay, we're good. So now is the time that you will hear what a haiku poem sounds like and the rhythm involved in the haiku. If you'd like, you can count the syllables out. Remember in school we said, hallelujah. Okay. Cherry blossoms. Okay? Okay. Tender leaves emerge. Spring mystery awakens. Clean, move toward light. Orchids memory blossoms in earth holy vein, marks protection, love. Blood water runs race. In rainbows, fluid vessels, sun writes signature. Dawn walks through darkness. From head to heart, sound ripens. Listen carefully. Child trust, sees, wonders. Walk behind, front, side, center. Watch steps. Your future. Next, we have Miss Rudge.
Well, I want to tell you that, I'm also one of the rebels from the Midwest, from Texas. Even though I was born in California, I was raised out there where the cowboys are. And they took matters into their own hand. Actually, there's supposed to be a nature word in every haiku, but because of this Western style, it sometimes we don't use a Kigo word. And we use daring subject matter like erotic haiku, not proper, he said. lilies quivered their stamens. Early morning dew, diamond jewel necklaces worn by all roses. Traffic on Main Street, high in a condo window, prayer flags flutter. Over the high rise, wild geese honking, going home, cars below honking. And sometimes we do not use 5 syllables in Western haiku. The hungry man lays a perfect orange on the altar. And the last haiku, cherry trees in bloom, Japan and San Francisco, hearts beat together. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to bring Michael Lange to the stage. Wait, hang on to it for a moment, because I really want a resounding welcome. Michael is Jerri's son, and he's a prolific Bay Area filmmaker, actor, and award-winning director who's widely known for his work in directing and acting in the play The Meeting, an eloquent depiction of a supposed secret meeting between Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, along with his work in A Soldier's Play and so much more. So I want you not just to put your hands together, but make sure that your heart is with it and that all the emotion that you're able to generate in the auditorium this afternoon, please do so as I bring to the podium the one, the only, the wonderful, the artistic, the handsome, Michael Lange, who...
Thank you very much, Ray. Every once in a while I get mistaken for Ray, which is good. So I felt like he was introducing both of us. I just want to share, I had the opportunity to go on one of the tours that my mother took to Japan, and she wrote something that I want to read. It kind of fills in some of the puzzle, kind of pushing it closer together. But the main memory that I had during my stay was around 2000, the year 2000. I was at the airport. We were actually coming home and met some people there getting ready to get on the airplane. And just a few months ago, I ran into a person that I had met at the airport in Japan. And she said, "Aren't you Michael?" And I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, we met in the year 2000 at the airport." So that was the first link. It was a wonderful trip. Some of the animals that we visited were domesticated. Deer, for example, would come up to you and you could feed them. There were opportunities where I was able to stay, I think, at a monastery, but to watch the monks do their thing every morning. It was very, very peaceful and very quiet. Meeting Yoshi, who extended her home to us. We traveled many, many places, and we saw people on pilgrimage. They were on a pilgrimage. They had to go from one temple to the next, even though they may be, Temple 1 might be in one town of Kyoto, and Temple 2 might be in Nara. They'd have to go in the pattern of 1, 2, 3, 4, so they traveled across the country. Just beautiful. They got it right. You know, their whole culture is just beautiful. Never saw any homelessness. The little tiny streets, people bowing, short doorways, but just wonderful. And I remember going downtown, I think it was in Kyoto, where we saw the huge buildings, Panasonic and other big buildings, just like New York's Times Square. It's amazing. But anyway, here's what my mother wanted to share. It says, "This exhibit is a result of my several trips to Kyoto as the guest of Takami Yoshie, a student I had met when I was librarian at Kansai Gaidai College in Honolulu. She suggested that I photograph the lovely seasons of Japan during those visits. The visits came about because of her return to Japan. Yoshi, which she liked to be called, became a tour guide for Japanese businessmen who traveled all over the world, while she saved up frequent flyer miles, which enabled her to send me a ticket to Japan every other year. When my book on the media was published in 2005, I sent her a copy. She showed it to Hanju Roshi, who took one look at the cover photo and said, "She's ready for the question." He invited me to study with him for 1 month in Kyoto. He kindly offered to send me a ticket, and Yoshi and I would stay in a lovely house on a sacred ground. Yoshi would be our interpreter. It was an offer I could not refuse. That month would change my life. The focus of the exhibit is to encourage young African Americans and other students of color to explore other cultures by reading about them, then traveling to other countries as part of their education. I will end here and turn the floor back over to Ray. Thank you very much.
Next, I'd like to bring up a gentleman who I have known for many, many years. His name is Noah Griffin. Noah's media background includes 5 years as a radio talk show host on my station, KGO, where we had just a ball day after day, night after night, doing the talk shows. Public Affairs Director at KSFO, KYA Radio, where he also did Morning Drive, and an on-air disc jockey at the old K-Fog in San Francisco and WJIB in Boston. Noah, by the way, is also a great musician and sings beautifully, and it's amazing that we have someone in our community that is as full of multiplicity of what it is you're able to be champion at. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to give a big round of applause to the one, the only, the articulate, the wonderful, the beautiful, the understanding, the great Noah Griffin.
I'm signing you up for my eulogy right now. Thank you, Jerry, so much for having me here this afternoon. Jerry and I have something in common insofar as the first kid I met out in the Richmond district when my family blockbusted back in 1952 was Ken Matsuoka. I was at the beach and I didn't have a towel, and his mother said, "Give him a towel." I later learned in the 8th grade that his older brother and sister had been born in internment camps. And he told me about what was not written in our history books about those internment camps. And later on in 1989, I was a press attaché with the NAACP when we flew to Japan for 10 days to try and sensitize the Japanese nationals over there to what we have kind of come to know over here as a certain comity of relationships. This is Jerry's writing. My grandparents, Laura and Ewing Cowan, came to West Oakland with one child in 1881 from New Orleans. They settled down and had 6 more children. My mother clearly remembers going down to the Oakland estuary to watch people injured in the 1906 earthquake and fire. They arrived at the estuary and were taken to Providence Hospital. Everyone thought it was the end of the world. As a child, I often had gone down to the same estuary with friends to catch pollywogs and bring them home to our parents. I still go down to that same area and look at the large rocks we sat on to catch the pollywogs out of the water. They now sit under the Waterfront Hotel, and the estuary has now become Jack London Square. A large bronze statue of Jack London stands next to the hotel. Somehow going there always brings a feeling of peace and comfort when I visit the place where I played as a child, and it brought much happiness in my life. We moved to Berkeley when I was 5 years old. My very first playmate was Shigeru Morita, who lived next door. He taught me how to count to 10 in Japanese, and I've never forgotten it. I also remembered when we went to school one day and none of our Japanese friends were in class. We all wondered where they had gone. We later found out that they were innocent victims of World War II. It was 1942 and feelings were running high. Japanese nurseries where they grew their beautiful flowers were confiscated by the government. A group got together and asked people would they be willing to move into a Japanese home so that their home would still be there for them when they returned from the war. Our family is one of those who gave up their home to move to a vacant Japanese home on Tyler Street in Berkeley. The group took pictures every month to send to them, showing that someone was taking care of their home until they returned. I tell this story because it reminds me in my later travels to Japan of the many kindnesses offered me during our 4 trips to Japan. My parents often taught us that if you give kindness to someone, it will be returned to you many times over. It is important to say that we lived and grew up in a multiracial community before ghettos set in. Where you lived was decided by how much money you had. All of the immigrants who came to this country made it out of the ghettos, with the exception of African Americans, who remain there to this day. I'm also mindful of my early contact with the Japanese people, never dreaming that one day I would visit Japan and study with a Zen Buddhist priest who would change my life. Jerri Lange. Thank you.
Oh, a bigger round of applause, please. This is a lot of fun. Because I'm about to introduce someone who I've admired in the broadcast business for a number of years. Not that I ever thought I'd become as handsome as she is pretty, but boy, I tell you, what she was able to do is outstanding. So Carolyn Tyler anchors the ABC 7 Sunday morning news at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and 9 a.m. She's also a general assignment reporter for ABC 7 News at 5 p.m. and 6 p.m. Tyler joined ABC 7 in May 1986 and served as weekend news co-anchor from 1989 through 1995. During her 20 years of broadcast experience, she has produced several special reports, including an Emmy-nominated series on the impact of the civil rights movement on Bay Area students. She also was nominated for an Emmy for her series on San Francisco's homeless crisis. Most recently, Carolyn Tyler received an Emmy nomination for her contributions to the ABC 7 6 p.m. newscast. So it's my honor, really, to introduce to you, going for an Emmy is one thing. Standing here this afternoon before this wonderful audience is something else. She's reached the epitome. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's hear a big round of applause of thank you to the great, the wonderful, the articulate Carolyn Tyler.
What an introduction. Thank you, Ray. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon and to honor Jerri. And I'm just going to say a little bit about, I've been fortunate to be to Japan, to visit Japan as well. I have a dear friend who is the Asia Bureau Chief for CBS Network, which in and of itself is quite remarkable as an African-American female. She covers everywhere over in Asia. I don't think there's another black person who's head of a network bureau, would you say, Pam, anywhere probably. Went to Japan, went to Tokyo, loved it, so frenetic and crazy, so much chaos, like New York City on steroids. I could see why Kyoto would be so close to Jerri's heart, because when you go there, it's so calming and so beautiful. And anytime, if you get a chance to go, definitely you do feel a connection there. I wanted to continue reading one of Jerri's letters that Michael first began, and this is where she's talking about the focus of this exhibit. And she's saying that She hopes that they will begin to embrace, and she's talking about young African Americans, I hope they will begin to embrace the concept that we are part of a global village and therefore a part of the whole world. This connection, when properly understood, can lead to world peace. When young people learn that we are all connected to the very same source and must learn to respect everyone on this planet, war will become obsolete. The extraordinary circumstances which led to my meeting a total stranger, Hoji Roshi, a master Zen Buddhist priest in a strange land, who took my hand and taught me how to reach the stars, is a miracle I hope to pass on to others.
Again, it is indeed an honor to be here and just take in all this history. This is a very historic moment, and to share this moment in the art that we love to share, which is poetry, is an honor, indeed an honor. I am sharing the poem of Avacha. She dedicates this haiku to Daiko. Truth is a mountain, quiet, waiting, inviting all of us to climb. Then there's Opal Palmer Adisa. Neither of them were able to be here today, but they forwarded their haikus to me so I could share them with you. Her first haiku: on the edge of life, we awake before dawn's light, shuffle to pray peace. In the urban midst, you stand tallest, a wooden shrine for healing souls. Defier of death, your ageless phoenix soaring, burn, then recreate. Opal Palmer Adisa lives in many worlds, a writer in all genres. She is author and journals, books, and magazines. Painting Away Regrets is her latest novel. And Vacha is a renowned jazz artist, musician, and I'm sorry I got that a little twisted around, but everything has been changing a little bit, but you know, life is fascinating, isn't it? It is truly fascinating, and I so enjoy this space in time with you, Jerri, and everyone else. Thank you very much.
When you're surrounded with people at the highest level of poetry and broadcasting, and the level of articulation that really brings about a great society, I have to tell you that the person I'm introducing now is way at the top of that. Someone I've known for years and years and years, who I worked with as a broadcaster. And so all of the wonderful applause that you've given up to now, that was a trial. Let me tell you that I'm introducing the Bay Area's esteemed news anchor, who you'll find on KRON Channel 4 Evening Newscast. She is an award-winning journalist. She was inducted into the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, a Silver Circle, and was nominated for 2 Northern California Emmy Awards for her medical reports, Diets Don't Work and the Brain. So I really want, as you have been practicing how to welcome people to this podium, please put your heart in beat, put your voice ready, get your hands going, and give a great welcome to the one, the only, the wonderful.
Isn't he wonderful? We just love Ray. Thank you, Ray. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here to share this afternoon with Ray and Carolyn and Michael, and certainly all of us here to honor Jerri tonight. We don't have enough time to really say all of the wonderful things that should be said about her, but I'm certainly happy to be on the program here and to be with all of you to just lift her up on this special day. I have to say, I have not been to Japan, but if I ever get to go, I know who to call. I certainly would love to go, but how wonderful that Jerri continues to build bridges in our communities, to keep the love flowing. That's the thing I love so much about the Bay Area, that we just keep building bridges. And we really set an example for the entire nation about how to live with diversity well. So I love that. I have been asked to read one of Jerri's letters, similar a bit to Carolyn's, that's also to her dear friend in Japan, Hoju Roshi. She wrote this December the 5th, 2006, and it goes like this. Dear Hoju Roshi, I hope this finds you well and that you are feeling better. The end of the year is here, and I did not want it to end until I told you how much my trip to Japan meant to me. I am still feasting on the riches that you so generously gave to me. Your kindness and patient instructions changed my life. Whenever I do my presentation on my trip to Japan, I tell everyone, a total stranger who could not speak my language showed me how the Creator wanted people to treat each other. I've found my fondest memories are of you, Yoshi, and me, walking around Kyoto and Osaka, taking in all of the sights, talking about the movies in the car while we were on the way to the hot springs. And as we talked about Grapes of Wrath, you quietly began singing I Remember the Red River Valley to let us know that you, too, had seen the movie. And the joy in the room when Yoshi and I danced the Irish jig for you. Such are the moments that make life fascinating. I have enclosed notes of a lecture that I gave last week at a high school. At the close of the lecture, I tell them the story of the master Zen priest, Hoju Roshi, who took my mind to another level just by asking the question that I could not answer. The journey from the head to the heart changes your life as soon as the question is asked. The 150 students were 1/3 Black, 1/3 Asian, 1/3 white. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the little girl in the foreword of my book whose ancestors were brought to a strange land so very long ago, and who dared to dream and reach for the stars, who met a total stranger in another strange land, a master Zen Buddhist priest, who took her hand and taught her how to touch the stars. Now I can pass that miracle on to others. Love, Jerri. Yes, Jerri, we love you too.
Well, this is wonderful. And I now introduce someone, it is a great honor for me, Shirley Kazuyo Muramoto, and she is with us today. Shirley was raised in the San Francisco Bay Area and in 1976 received a high-ranking Daishahan master degree and instructor's license from the Chikushi School in Japan. She is a master koto artist and instructor. Jun Kawamoto of the jazz band Hiroshima says, I'm truly honored and privileged to know Shirley. Her koto playing and energy for constant creativity is inspirational to me. Her spirit and soul touches me deeply. I am forever grateful to her for sharing of musical knowledge and philosophies with me. Shirley has performed for former dignitaries well, they're still dignitaries. San Francisco Mayor Willie Brown, Secretary of State George Shultz, Vice President Al Gore, and Mikhail Gorbachev. She currently leads the Murasaki Ensemble and performs at concerts throughout the United States, Canada, and Japan. And now on our very own stage in celebration of Jerri Lange and our efforts to build a bridge to the cultures of all people, Japanese, African American, and everyone, we now bring you the one, the only, the magnificent, the beautiful, the highly talented Shirley Miramoto. Yeah.
I never received such a nice introduction. Before I play, I just wanted to say I'm very honored to be here for Jerri Lange, and you know, I grew up in the Bay Area, so I did watch you on the TV as I was growing up, and I wanted to let you know that I do have ties to internment because my mother and my grandparents, my aunt, were interned, and they were in Topaz, Utah, and also Tule Lake. My mother learned how to play the koto, which I'm going to play for you today, in camp. So I would not be able to play if she didn't learn in camp. I'm a fourth generation American. And so I never went to Japan until I was in my 20s. I really didn't know anything much about Japan except for the koto. And I didn't know how to speak the language. I still can't speak it fluently. First time I went to Kyoto was 2 years ago. So, so I'm an American through and through. And what I've tried to do is keep up the tradition of the koto, to keep some cultural ties that a lot of my siblings and my friends actually kind of put away and didn't want to acknowledge because they were afraid that if they did anything Japanese, they would still be looked upon as not being American. So it was, it's a very important thing for me that way. Jerri, I read your letters and such, and it really touched something in me because I've actually been going through similar things, and having that aha moment that I've wanted to find out why and how people were able to do Japanese arts in the camps. And a lot of them have been keeping that secret because they're still afraid to show that they were Japanese. So someone told me, you have to let everything aside, do what you want to do, make this documentary, and interview these people before they pass on. So that was my aha moment, even though I can't afford it. I jumped in and started working on it. So hopefully it'll be shown next year. We're hoping for a PBS showing. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about my background there. I'm going to play a piece called Shae. It means diagonal shadows. And it was written by a heavy metal guitarist in Japan named Hikaru Sawai. I mean, it's just, it has really a lot of nice cross-cultural things in it. I think you'll hear some guitar strumming and all this. So there are bridges that are trying to be extended to us from Japan as well. So I hope you enjoy it. It's 3 movements, so hope you like it.
That really was beautiful. It was outstanding. Now I'd like to bring for a poetry reading the one, the only, a great big round of applause, please, Tarika Lewis.
And I'd like to dedicate this piece, it's called In Search of Peace, to Jerri. I had opportunity to travel to Kyoto, to Tokyo, but the most memorable was the island above Japan, Nagoya, and we played in a town called Sapporo. I played there with John Handy. And everybody in the band was from Oakland, California. Wow. And our manager, Yoshi, he surprised us. He said, I have a big surprise for you tonight. So he took us to this open field. There were eight of us in the band. And the people on the island had camped out overnight to welcome us to the island. They were camped out in, families, about 1,500 people. And they built a huge bonfire, and everybody cooked. Everybody wanted to, you to taste their food and everything. And the moonshine, I didn't touch that though. That's the moonshine. And so we played there, and it was the most beautiful thing. I mean, we were weeping all night long, and then we ended it with a Soul Train line. So when I got back to Oakland, I got pulled over on the freeway. Yeah. And I told him, that was my welcome home. Well, I got a true story back to Oakland. The police officer tore up the ticket. He was so ashamed because I was laughing. I was like, So this is a piece. I'm blown away by the Kyoto here. By McCoy Tyner.
I'd like for everyone here to, once again, that had to be some of the most beautiful sounds I've ever heard. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce a great singer. One of the things that I've done in life, I was the master of ceremonies of the Monterey Bay Blues Festival for its inception every year, where there were great folks. Etta and others were there, and it was my thrill every year to introduce all the great singers at the Blues Festival. And so here this afternoon, I have someone who is considered a very, very special treat. And I want you to put your hands together, a man whose soulful style and creative talents make him one of the Bay Area's finest actors, directors, and singers. From plays he's directed, like A Celestial Celebration, to his very own interpretation of Louis Armstrong. Please help me welcome to the stage the incomparable, the one, the only, the magnificent, the wonderful, the great, carrying God's gift of voice, James Brooks.
Thank you so much. I was looking to see who's he talking about. Oh, Tarika, that is beautiful. If I had known that instrument made such beautiful music, I would not have hassled my cousins when they were kids coming home with that. You know, that was just, man, that is beautiful. Thank you. Jerry, I just want to say to you, it is a pleasure to be here, to honor you, and you just brought out the stars today, and you're just a wonderful, wonderful person, and we love you so dearly. Love you. Carmen? The evening breeze caressed the trees tenderly. The trembling breeze embraced the trees tenderly. Then you and I came wandering by, and lost in a sigh were we. The shore was kissed by sea and mist tenderly. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly. Your arms open wide and closed me inside. You took my lips, you took my love so tenderly. The shore was kissed by sea and mist tenderly. I can't forget how two hearts met breathlessly. Your arms open wide and closed me inside. You took my lips, you took my love, so tenderly. Love you, Jerry. Thank you, baby. Thank you. Thank you.
Boy, that song started putting some romance in me, and I was slow recouping, getting back to the full stage area. And so I would like very much for you to give that gentleman another great big thank you. I have the honor to produce Kanara Sankofa, an incredible Bay Area talent. His lyrical and soulful poetic spoken word has inspired and electrified audiences around the world. And so let's give it up for Kanara Sankofa.
Good evening. Come on, good evening. All right, that's better. An old African traditional way, before I continue on to say another word, I asked one of my ancestors and I asked one of my elders permission to speak. Thank you. Sounds of buses passing, listening to the sounds of fruit bats as they sat in the trees flapping their wings. The night was warm and the moon began to rise right before my eyes, and it kind of took my breath away. All I can do was smile. The color was like a orange lemmy type as it gave out light into the night. Sitting on a bench beach only steps away, I sat by the sea. Now I can hear the sounds of Asians strolling along the boardwalk, making their way towards the sands, and seagulls dancing along with the waves as pelican gave a dip with their beaks. I sat and I watched as they ate fish by the sea. It was so exhilarating. My spirit started escalating to a peak, so I closed my eyes just to hear the gods and destiny. That's the night gotta speak. Oh, it kind of freaked me out because of the darkness of the night. Because of the darkness of the night. Because of the darkness of the night. I'm gonna watch you by the sea. I wanna watch you by the sea. And they strolled along the beach, softly walking the street of Sydney. Beautiful Sydney, I shall see you again. And we shall sleep the night away and catch a train up the coast, because you know what I miss the most? Is sitting by the water. Funny, you even got that beautiful space called Darling Harbor and the Walk Along With Me Bridge. Years we've lived together, and we shall live again by the sea. I'm going to watch you by the sea. Thank you. One thing before I go. I met Jerri last year, and she is incredible, absolutely incredible, and I am honored to be here. Thank you.
Oh, another great round of applause, please. Now we have another poetry reading, a great one, by Michelle Fleming Bando.
Good afternoon. And I just want to say, echoing the other artists on stage, I'm very honored to be here as a guest and to share what Ms. Lange says is my talent. So I share it with you all. Thank you. This is my version of a haiku. Flying in midair, viewing everything up high, leaving my heart still. Sun shining brightly, showing everything up close, closing my eyes shut.
Thank you very, very much. Now we're going to have another poetry reading by Kelly, a reading for Joyce Gaskell.
Greetings and love to you all on this beautiful day. It is my honor to be here in the oneness of the moment and all the radiant gifts that everyone has shared. I'm here, my name's Kelly Peterson. I'm here to share the gift of Joyce Gaskell. She wrote this poem on March 11th, 2011, while watching the news of the tsunami. Tsunami. Before my eyes, helpless I stood, as silk threads in my mind mercilessly unravel. No hand courageous enough to grasp thousands, delivered into the unknown. Sounds of the horrified crashing endlessly into oblivion. A nation's head bowed into one collective hand. Protective mother grasping her children. Like bread in the mouth of a starving man. No bridge stood strong enough, my spirit forced to take flight. Gliding through cherry blossom trees in an uncertain night, my feet became strong. Like footsteps of the crane, so proud, so assured. Distant memories of fragrant lotus blossoming cocooned my horror, visions of irises, purple and true, the garden in which I once gazed upon, perfect in its splendor. An ancient army has risen, mighty in number, powerful and strong. Who are we to question? Through God's mercy, the battle is won. Thank you very much, Joyce. And would you please stand for us today so we can honor you for helping us to bring us all together to honor Jerri. Thank you.
Oh, please, just a magnificent thank you to one of the best we've heard. Thank you. Well, it gives me a great honor to introduce a great dancer, a native San Franciscan. She was born to a blues and jazz singer from New Orleans and a Latin guitarist from Panama. Exotic roots lend so well to her talents as singer, songwriter, actor, and dancer, who moves so easily through the African ballet and jazz genres as she delights the senses of all who look on. Oneida headlined as Eartha Kitt in James Brooks' The Celestial Celebration a few years ago, and is active in working with local music and video artists, along with leading a tremendous dance class in the Bay Area. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm very limited vocabulative process when trying to describe the greatness period on the stage this afternoon, but would you please put your hands together and welcome the one, the only, one of the greatest ever in this genre, the magnificent, the beautiful dancer Oneida Cordova. Oh, another great round of applause, please. And we're blessed to hear this very moment to a haiku poetry reading by Marisa Thompson.
It's very much an honor to be here. Thank you, Ms. Jerri Lange. I had the opportunity, I grew up in San Francisco, and I had actually the opportunity to go to Japan when I was very young. I was in 8th grade, and it was through Horace Mann Middle School because we had some amazing teachers who pushed us to do artistic things. And in my case, the teachers encouraged me and another student there to enter a writing contest that I think it was called Wave 2000 was offering in Japan. And so they flew students from here in San Francisco and also from Charleston, North Carolina, based on our writings for the earthquake in 1989, and also I believe a hurricane that occurred in Charleston. And so about a dozen of us or so went to Japan, and I remember being so influenced and fascinated at a very young age. That was the first time I was in another country, and I fell in love with how clean it was, and learned how to not dump food on top of my rice because you don't do that in Japan. You eat it separately, and all kinds of things. And it really opened my mind in that short period of time. And so I really have to say, when I was listening to how important it is to travel and to make those cross-cultural connections, because it really does open your mind. And so I was very lucky to have that as a student, and I hope that, being an educator, things like that continue. So these are my haikus that kind of started with that journey, and also ended up, as Ms. Lange knows, in the exhibit as well, thinking about some of the things that she was thinking. Cherry blossoms bloom, cool silk caressing the palms, petals of sweet snow. How do you exist, trembling leaf on the wind, when you are split in half? Curved cypress wood roofs become small mountain echoes, thatched with silver rain. Octave of pillars read the wind in low tones, the mind's traffic slows. The leaf is the vein of the footstep in soil, nectar, blossom, tree. Water, stretched skin, wood, fire, knife, hand, kun, kun, the name of the drum. Between mind and heart, a canopy of blue stone, the longest journey. Thank you.
One more great thank you, please. They've asked me to introduce this very, very wonderful human being, and I'll do the best I can, but not with God-given vocal qualities, because it would take all afternoon. So let me really, really try to wrap it up with, here's a woman who shows us what living life to the fullest is all about. She's an author, a former professor, former Bay Area talk show host and broadcasting executive. She's our very own American living legend. I thought I was in love with a legend. And I want you to put your hands together and just really give her a great thank you for everything she does in this community to help us, to warm us, and to inspire us. A great round of applause, please, to the one, the only, the lovely, the outstanding Jerri Lange.
Jesus Christ. I'm supposed to break into song. This is the moment. This is the chime. Oh gosh, what can I say? Except I love you all. From the moment of birth. I know I'm not going to remember all the names I'm supposed to call out. I mean, I just can't, it's like I've gone blank. But I've got to thank the people who put this show together, I'm telling you. I'd like to, I mean, they told me to go home and rest, we'll do it, and they did. So let me thank the master of ceremonies, Ray Taliaferro, one of a kind, great guy. Joyce Gaskin, I had 3 sons, but I showed up now with 2 daughters. One of them is Joyce Gaskin, who gathered many of these great performers you saw here today. Carmen Stone, my other daughter, who performed magic with those beautiful colors on the invitations you received. She worked very, very hard, both of them did, and everybody worked hard on this group. All except me, I was home resting, of course. Anyway, to Pam Moore, what can we say about Pam Moore? I mean, distinguished, knowledgeable, just a great gal. Noah Griffin, wonderful. Carolyn Tyler. Noah Griffin went back for the history. His father was a walking historian, so we know about that. Carolyn Tyler, who's just an angel. I don't know if she's still here or not. Wonderful girl, and she's just they're both a credit, her and Pam Moore, to the media itself, and they have been so for many years. And, of course, my thanks also to Arif Khatib, who put the finishing touches and arranged our champagne reception for this evening. And Johnny Burrell, you've seen the guy with the black beret running around. This guy is a genius. He owns the internationalmediatv.com. This entire show will go up as photographed March 3rd on our internet television. And the cards will be outside, or you can ask me, we can tell him, you can ask him to give you a card, but there should be some outside there. This is going to be up for one whole year on the internet. They will be able to see what we did here today. That we are moving. We are moving in the direction President Obama said we should move. So, but it's just been, Tarita McKell, you did a wonderful job in bringing all these great poets together. And what can I say about all you wonderful poets? You were just magnificent. I hope you heard me mumbling in the back there saying, gee, she's just terrific, you know. Thank you so much. We appreciated it. And, of course, all the wonderful performers who came up here on this stage. Where did you get that voice, JB? Last time I saw you were playing Reverend Martin Luther King, as I recall, in the play. He's an actor as well. Anyway, I could go on, but and to this wonderful, wonderful woman who played the koto for us today. She is a treasure. What a treasure. And Onita, the dancer, I don't want to leave anybody out. Have you ever seen anything more elegant? It mixed in all of the Ethiopia, all of our history in it, and she's was just marvelous. And of course, Kanara, you hit it out of the ballpark. It was just amazing. So I think I've covered everyone here. I'm trying to Tarika Lewis. What can I say about her? And where do you hear when she's playing with John Handy? I mean, she's another one. Boy, I just can't get over all the talent here today. And last but not least, my beautiful son Michael, who opened the show. Better known in our circles as Michael the Archangel, because he covers my back. Thank you. Okay, now let's see. You all received at least 50 people that entered here this evening, today. You received a photograph from Ted Kurohawa, who could not be here today. But he, over our 25-year friendship, he has photographed the cover of my book, followed me into the community when I was doing something substantial, and photographed it so that I have a record of all of the things that we have done. I also want to express my thanks and deep appreciation to Stuart Shaw and Everett Erlinson. These are the gentlemen that put together that marvelous photo exhibit upstairs. And let's give them a round of applause, because I really think they did a beautiful job. But between Ted Kurohawa and Johnny Burrell, I have two fantastic photographers who have covered my work, and that's very important. I tell all you wonderful people who are doing these things, the poets and everything, keep a record of your work. Because when they said, do you have anything, I went and I said, are you kidding? And I had boxes of things. You have to keep a record, not just out of an ego thing. It's to let other people know that your life means something. And if you do something and record it, you can then show it to others. And you will encourage, because anybody that says they're bored with life, I said, well, you must be very boring. If you're bored with life, you're the one in trouble. Because life is this exciting, wonderful thing. Doesn't mean you won't have hardships. Doesn't mean the trouble won't come your way. It's what you do about it that counts. That's what I learned from the Buddhist priest. That pain that you're crying about, that you don't like, is what's scraping off the drudge that you came into this world when you were born. And so that's why God said in that Bible, if you love God, you don't have an enemy. Because the enemy is just helping you get your way out of here. So that's what you do about pain. And as far as my battles with the media, they're telling you the opposite. You're supposed to sit down and cry about it or go get a gun. That's what they tell you, whether you like it or not. Every single show, every other show is a gun, somebody shooting somebody. That's to tell you what to do when you get mad. See, but the truth is, you get down on your knees and thank God for that whipping. I must have needed it. Okay. I said I was going to preach. I didn't really know I was, but but most of all, I'd like to thank all of you so much for coming here today. And it makes me happy to come back to San Francisco because I spent 10 years here in both television and politics. And now I'm back in San Francisco starting a brand new career. I'm a photojournalist. I've got my freedom now. I don't have anybody to say I can or cannot do this. You don't say that, don't say this. I can pick a town, a country, and go there and photograph, and now I can come back there and do a showing in a museum, and I can publish a book. And I will be publishing a book of all my photographs, many of which were not enough for 4 years to fit upstairs. I'm going to be publishing a book on all of my photographs. So, and of course this all took me back to Japan where I started the new journey, and I hope that I have shared some of this with you today. This event really started in my childhood. You see, when I was growing up, back in the 1930s, my world looked just like the one in this room. There were no separations or divisions between us. We had different names, different colors, but we were friends and playmates growing up together. So I'm comfortable when I look out at this audience today. So, we already know what President Obama meant when he said, we aren't Asian Americans, African Americans, white Americans. We're all Americans. That's who we are. We can have our culture. It doesn't mean you give up anything. But it's like everything else. When you blend into the larger picture, you become bigger than what you are. So, oh my goodness gracious, I left my book out. Can somebody give me my book out in the back there? I have it out there. Michael, thank you. Because I want to read from my book before I turn the program back to Ray Taliaferro. I want to read the last 2 chapters in my book, and I thank you very much. Thank you very much. I want to tell you how I end my chapter in the book, just so you will know that this has been a theme that's run through all my life, and then it crystallized in the sense when I saw where the abuses were coming from and so forth. I then found out what we were not being told, not only what we were being told. And so I end my story with this, and before I turn it's over, after I turn the program back to Ray Taliaferro to close out he's going to close out with a few announcements. I'll have a favor to ask of you. I hope you will extend your graciousness and try to do it. I think you'll be feeling much better when you do. Anyway, it is time to turn on our own personal electricity. Turn on the light inside you and light up the world. We once had that power, and we can have it again. All we have to do is plug in, just like your radio, television, or telephone. All forms of communication. You are the vehicle awaiting the flow of electricity, the ultimate form of communication, ready to go. We have all been so distracted by movies, television, and all those irrelevant things outside ourselves created to grab our attention, we have failed to pay attention. Do an about-face. Turn around and take a good look at yourself. You are waiting to get plugged in, and when the power goes on inside, there will be no stopping us. Because while the rest of the world is turning out their lights, we'll be turning ours on. That is real communication, tuning in on the electricity, and no one can turn it off but you. We just have to decide when to do it. If we can all come together in unity, we won't have to grapple with whether or not there is an apology for slavery or justice to the American Indian. It will take place naturally. Nor will we watch the continuous rape of our natural resources. Our children will no longer feel the rage that causes them to pack guns instead of books to school. Our love and respect for nature and ourselves will begin to replace the damage that has been inflicted on this beautiful, once tranquil, round, fertile, loving being called Earth. Thank you. So Ray's going to come back and close out with a few announcements about the book signings and things. And I would like to ask you to do one thing before you leave. That is, hug the person to your left of you and to the right of you, and tell them you love them. Tell them you love them. Wonderful. Woo. Okay. I'm almost done, and you're gonna be here. I'm gonna say.
So start talking again.
I will. Okay. Okay. Just a moment. Hello, folks. Don't leave. We're still here. Remember this: peace and love begins here in this room with you and me. So I want to thank you all again for coming. And God bless America. All right.
And we're almost done with the program. We've got just a couple of more announcements for you. One moment, please.
Okay. Yep. Oh, my.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and an honor. I would just like to leave one quote, and that quote is, "You can't make footprints in the sands of time sitting down."
Whoa.
Jerri has totally left her footprints today in the sands of time. Her work and labor will carry on through the ceaseless ages of time. And I love her, and I'm blessed to call her mom.
I'm surrounded by both my daughters, Carmen and Joyce. Without them, I can tell you this would not have happened. They got out and said, "You go home and rest, we'll take care of it," and they did. So thank you so much, and I'm going to take this here, and my paper here, and my pen, and this, and my piece of candy.
And one photo opportunity.
Okay. Oh, you want to take a picture? That's my Hollywood smile. Okay.
So, as we close, I just want to say thank you once again to our incredible, our magnificent, that powerful voice, the voice who's made such a difference in the Bay Area and in the lives of so many, our wonderful Master of Ceremony, Ray Taliaferro. You can come out, Ray. Ray is one of Jerri's fellow journalists. He's a former early show, which aired on KGO News Talk Radio 810 in the San Francisco Bay Area from 1977 until December of 2011. Ray also to many as a liberal political commentator. Please help me now applaud this wonderful, wonderful man, Ray Taliaferro. He has a few closing remarks, and then we'll be off for a book signing and for a jazz reception.
Oh, thank you very, very much. Thank you very much. What a joy to be here, really. And it's my understanding that immediately following this event, there is a reception, champagne reception at Rosella's Jazz Club, located at 1534 Fillmore Street, for a jazz and champagne reception. Everybody plans to arrive about 5:30. But it seems to me that in our life, every day at 5:30, every day at 10:30, every day in our lives we ought to celebrate the joy of being alive, the splendid of knowing so many wonderful people. And I'm very, very grateful that you asked me to do a little bit this afternoon. Thank you so much.